band. A Latin band, like Tito Puente and people like that.
So it was an early version of salsa meets jazz.
Well, yes, it was. It was salsa. The Latin music was a very important part of the Jewish culture at that time, both in the mountains and the Catskills, and also in the New York area and possibly other areas. I'm sure it was, and the dances were not only foxtrot and swing, but they were rumba and mambo and cha-cha, and I learned all these things many years ago, and I knew them right to this day. So that was an important part of the relationship of the Latino community and the Jewish community, and to a great extent that would lead later on to my love and involvement with Latin music, which is also called salsa, which is basically Caribbean, Afro-Cuban, etc. music.
I remember seeing some records in the collection of records recorded at the Gate called Descargas.
Descargas.
Now, was that the name of a group or of a style of music?
I believe, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I had a couple of albums were cut there. I think it was a style of music.
Kind of like salsa.
Well, not just salsa at the time. It was a. There are different types of Latino music. Those with violins and those with flutes. You know, there were differences. Those with drums. There were variations of Latin music. It wasn't just one music.
Okay. Briefly, is it in Army life? Was there any connection with music? So I'm interested in your Army years, but only as they relate to music, if that's possible.
Okay. I remember one thing. When I was moving around the United States, I was in World War II. I was a operator mechanic for a fighter control squadron, which was very important in saving England in the Battle of Europe. And excuse me. The fighter control squadron was the organization which it was like a radar, which they zeroed in on the bombers, the German bombers, and when they had the exact location, they were then radioed to the P-38s, the fighter aircraft, which went up immediately as quickly as they could, and they shut down the bombers. So I'm very proud of being associated with this outfit. I didn't go to England, but I did end up in China. I do remember that I stopped in Chicago. I think I was stationed in Wisconsin, but I stopped in Chicago for some holiday, and I went down to a place, I remember the name, Lips Lower Level, and I ordered a Coke.
Like a pair of lips.
Lipp apostrophe S. It was the name of the man. Lips Lower Level. Anyway, I went downstairs. I remember sitting there in uniform, and I think I ordered a Coke, and they charged me $1.50, which I guess at that time was very outrageous. But anyway, and who did I hear? I never heard of this guy, but he was somebody very famous in New Orleans music, Kid Ory.
Wow.
And I enjoyed it very much. Another thing happened. At one time, I traveled across country on a troop train, and lo and behold, the next car to where I was riding on was Fats Waller and his group, and they were going from the I believe I don't think it started in Chicago, New York to Los Angeles, to a place called Florentine Gardens. I got to be very friendly with members of his band and Fats Waller, and I told them I was going to be in Los Angeles for a few days, and they invited me to hear Fats Waller, which I did, and of course, which I enjoyed tremendously. And since then, I've been a fan of his for eternity. So it was just something I remember very much. Another time, I drove a cab in Los Angeles, a yellow cab. I just but I passed the test, and the company hired me. And as I was driving along, and I pick up a passenger, and the woman gets in. She was like kind of drunk, and she said, "Well, I like to go to this place called Tiffany something or other, and I want to hear George Shearing. I said, who's George Shearing? She said, well, he's a very big jazz pianist. Very good. I said, fine. And she says, don't worry, kid, I'll pay you. So I drive the cab, and I remember it was called a Tiffany Cafe or Lounge or something, and George Shearing. So I heard George Shearing. I sat there for over an hour. I was paid, and I first heard George Shearing live in person. I mean, for whatever that's worth, that's the story. So instances like that of things like that happening in my life.
She asked you to go because she didn't want to be bothered by being a single woman?
I don't think so. I think she
just
wanted a cab to be taken there.
I see.
And
didn't want to have
and I
to,
happened to be the cab
right.
driver that she hit upon, and I
Didn't
took
want
her
to wait
there.
for a cab when she
Well,
left.
whatever. Okay, but I can't forget it. Actually,
That's
it
amazing.
actually happened.
Do you remember how many pieces were in the band?
No.
Did he have? Do you remember? If he had
George Shearing, I think. I'm not sure whether it was a solo or whether it was a trio. I really can't remember.
Because sometimes he would have these ensembles with vibes and guitar.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it was definitely George Shearing.
Wow.
And
That's great.
I wanted to tell you a story. You know, many times people ask you, did every major jazz artist play the gate? I said, just about. Well, who didn't? I said, George Shearing. He said, why not? Well, he couldn't find the place. He was blind. Anyway.
Actually, he's still alive.
No, he's still alive, correct. And I spoke to him on a tour which I went with Raphael to Finland, where I met him and spoke to him, to Shearing and his
funny
wife.
was him and his wife sat next to us, and it took us a little while to realize, hey, wait a minute, that's George Shearing.
That's right.
I was in Pori, Finland in 1992, and I want to thank you for taking that trip with me. It was probably the best birthday present I ever had. That was
Good.
a fantastic trip, and one of my very few trips abroad ever. Okay, the cab driving incident, was that before college or after college?
I believe it was after college.
Okay, let's go back to college, your college years, and did you have any memories of thinking about promoting music or getting involved in any such career thing, or not yet?
Not at that time. I don't believe. I did go to the mountains and I heard a lot of music. I was a waiter, busboy, and on a weekend, and there were lots of shows of all sorts: music, comedy, popular. After all, the Borscht Belt, they built up the comedians and they helped the Latin bands and the other jazz singers, and so I mean I had at least an opportunity to hear some good entertainment.
Now, as a busboy, did you get any opportunity to talk to the musicians, or was that not done?
I don't remember being involved in talking to
Maybe
any
you
of
were
the
too busy.
musicians. I'm still busy buzzing.
So now let's try and find the moment in your life when